Today's First Alert afternoon weather update is brought to you by Lockhart Roofing.
Good Tuesday afternoon. First Alert meteorologist Diane Phillips joining you today. Hopefully you've been able to stay warm. It's been a chilly start to our day. We've had wind chills that even this morning were around 10 to even 15 degrees below zero. So it was frigid. I know while I was outside, it just felt like that cold air was kind of seeping through my gloves. So hopefully you were dressed warm. Even with all the layers though, that cold air can have a little bit of an extra bite to it. So again, hopefully you're able to just maybe hang inside, have a couple of blankets on and just enjoy a nice and easy afternoon, or hopefully if you're joining us from work, you're able to kind of have maybe that space heater going, or it's just cozy in the workplace. So we are going to be finding that conditions have changed a little bit from this morning. As we take a check here in Flint, we are finding in downtown the cloud cover is here. I was loving the sunshine that we were picking up on this camera earlier today, but we don't have much of that sun anymore. Some locations are seeing it a little bit better than others, but we still are finding that not everybody has that sunshine. Here we are in downtown Saginaw. I at least see a little bit of blue there in that top right-hand corner. So that's allowing us to at least know that the sun exists behind those clouds. So maybe a moment or two where you gotta kind of squint a little bit, but then those clouds do try to come back into play. And we are taking a look here in Birch Run where we have more clouds as well. I'm trying to find a sunny camera, but it looks like those clouds are moving in pretty quickly. Our US 10 camera has been having a little bit better sun around lunch, but you can see now that we're getting close to 1 o'clock that those clouds also coming in towards southern Bay County. So those are just going to continue to move east here. If you are hoping to maybe do a little bit of sun chasing, just don't forget to take your coat while you go because it still feels cold outside. We have seen some improvements. As I mentioned this morning, we're about 10 to 15 degrees below zero. Right now, we're finding that those feels like temperatures are around 5 to 10 degrees below zero. So we have negative 11 for Port Sanilac, Harbor Beach. We are at -9 in Bad Axe. We have -5 for Flint. Saginaw is recording -9. We have -6 in Bay City. We have -2 in Mount Pleasant. Houghton Lake. This was one of the chillier spots I saw this morning. They had -20 at one point. So at least we are up to about -10. Still cold, still going to kind of have that extra bite to the air. The winds have also been elevated to kind of keep things a little bit uncomfortable for us. When we look at some of those wind gusts, that's kind of aiding to keep that wind chill in play. We're still seeing those peak winds around 20 to 25 miles per hour coming out of the west-southwest, and that's also allowing for some lake effects. So that's why when we were in Flint, our camera there was showing some snow showers rolling in. We haven't had too many of them actually getting picked up on radar, so we'll talk about that coming up. But I kind of want to stick with the wind chills because even though our winds are elevated, they are going to stay elevated here for a little while longer. So for the next 12 hours, kind of the remainder of our Tuesday, we are going to be finding that our wind chills are going to remain in the negatives. At least we're kind of around that 0 to -5 range. Still going to be cold, but it's not nearly as chilly as what it was this morning. I know a couple of co-workers around the newsroom, they were asking if we were going to see any relief, any rebound in the temperatures, and we do have our numbers that are going to come back. It just doesn't last very long, and we actually are going to be first alerting you to another round of Arctic air that's going to be coming in. Air temperatures, though, this afternoon, we are finding those around 10 degrees, so we are making it into the double digits. So when you look at the car thermometer and you check your thermometer before you head out, know that you're going to want to dress for the wind chills. That's what it's going to feel like. Even though we are just sitting around 10 degrees, it's still just simply cold outside. Very much a January setup, kind of typical for this point in the year. I know last year in January we kind of had that cold week, that kind of cold air outbreak. So that's kind of what we're working with here this week in January. I know being Michiganders, a lot of you are familiar with snow and cold, so a lot of this isn't new, but still doesn't maybe make it the easiest thing to traverse here through the next couple of days. When we also look at those wind gusts that are going to kind of keep that extra chill in the air, those wind speeds are still going to be around 25, and we may even get close to 30-mile-per-hour peak winds at times, and then they do start to settle down shortly after sunset. We'll still have them climb at times. You can see some of those peak winds 23, 24 miles per hour as we do start to shift a little more southerly winds in. So that's why tomorrow's forecast is not going to be nearly as chilly. We are going to be finding that one to be a little bit more tolerable. And the other good news is that we were able to cancel our first alert weather day for today. We're no longer in that criteria to where our wind chills are going to have that frostbite potential for a short period of time. We're also past that morning commute and the bus stops. So a lot of folks aren't necessarily going to be spending long periods of time out. Of course, if you do work outside, hopefully you're able to get indoors and take some breaks to warm up and kind of thaw a little bit before you head back out to the job site. We do also want to provide a quick update on our traffic because we did have some snow showers that were working their way through Genesee County this morning and even Shiawassee County as well. So we saw earlier today around Fenton, Holly, we really had some slow roads on 23 and 75. It was really kind of like right at the southern Genesee County line. The further south you went, that's when we started to run into those slow roads and they were very slick. So we are finding though that we have some good improvements here, kind of zooming into that map again. We had quite a few crash icons that were popping up. We don't have any of them now. So I'm glad to see that a lot of us are a little bit more closer to on time to maybe run some errands, grab groceries, or go to doctor's appointments. Into the Great Lakes Bay region, we will see the Tri-Cities over towards Mount Pleasant. We're in good shape. I still want to caution into the Thumb. I know we had a lot of school districts in the Thumb that were closed this morning. With the blowing snow, the visibility, the whiteout conditions that we had yesterday, I know we still have some drifting, so I'm sure that there are some schools that are worried about those back roads and getting kids back to school. So we are going to be hopefully making some improvements. Hopefully that sun was kind of able to clean up at least some of those roads. It would be nice if the wind could settle down too to maybe help and stop that drifting, because even if the drifts are clear, we can still have some icing from those. So of course we're just going to kind of keep an eye to those variable conditions. That snow is still going to be blowing around as long as we have elevated winds, which we still will find breezy conditions here through the middle of the week. As we head further north on our first alert traffic, you'll still see in our northern counties that a lot of us are into the green, so we didn't have too many traffic concerns this morning. Again, a lot of those were outside of mid-Michigan, but we are going to be just happy to report that a lot of our roadways are on time this afternoon. Now, we are going to take a real quick break. We do have to talk about the snow chances for tomorrow, so we'll have the hour-by-hour forecast lined up, and we are going to be timing out what time the snow will be rolling in, when that will start to move out, and we'll also be talking those totals as well. So make sure you stay with us. We'll have that quick 60-second break, and then we are going to be coming right back here to your first alert desk. Welcome back. As we set up our forecast for some snow, we are going to find that still the lake effect is active for us. The one thing is that this lake effect being a little bit lower, so it's not getting scanned on all of our radars all that well. This morning when we had that snow come in, it kind of set up right a line running east and west between Duran and Grand Blanc. So we are seeing that has kind of settled down. We don't really have the road concerns that we used to, but really it was just kind of that small area further south here in mid-Michigan where we did pick up on those snow showers. The one thing is that we weren't able to see it on radar, so they were just kind of keeping things a little bit on the lower side. So it was definitely some sneaky lake effect, but right now we are seeing that mainly we're dealing with lake effect cloud cover, but we still can have some snowflakes that come in. So we're going to be just keeping some flurries and some isolated snow showers in play for the afternoon. You'll see around the Grand Rapids area a little bit better returns. You actually probably saw that crash that was on 196 yesterday yesterday around Zeeland. They had that 100-car pileup. There were about 9 injuries that were reported from that. So those whiteout conditions, kind of everybody hitting the brakes and then just getting that pile up. So it's definitely a dangerous situation. That's why we wanted to first alert you that even those snow squalls coming in, they may be short-lived, but when the visibilities drop down, that gets pretty scary at times, especially behind the wheel. So always be cautious while traveling in the winter season, whether it's slick roadways, visibilities. It always seems like Mother Nature has a way of trying to slow us down. So just keep in mind that a lot of our roadways right now are fine, but we are going to still be monitoring for that lake effect coming across. Now let's jump into the hour by hour. You'll see that it's really not buying into much of the lake effect, so we still may not be able to pick that up on radar this afternoon. Still doesn't mean that we can't see some snowflakes at the ground level. Into the evening, it's still pretty quiet forecast. You may have a couple of moments of some sun here this afternoon, but the cloud cover, we're already seeing that kind of dominating the forecast, so that's going to continue to be the case. During the night, we'll see a little more build on that snowfall in the western side of the state. We are finding that closer towards 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, we're going to have some snow coming in from the southwest. This is going to move across. As it moves in, it will start to become more widespread around 7, 8 o'clock. So I know that that's when the buses are running. That's when people are trying to get to work. So we are anticipating that we will have some slowdowns. But at the time that this rolls through, we should have less than an inch. So it's not really going to be the challenge of, can I cut through all that snow? It's going to be more the issue of how slippery is it underneath my tires. For how cold it has been lately, our road temperatures are definitely on the cold side. So we are going to have crews, I'm sure they're going to be plowing and applying salt. So that is going to be helpful, but still, I would give yourself a couple of extra minutes to get to work, to get the kids dropped off, because I do anticipate it's just cold air plus snow equals slippery roadways. It's kind of that basic winter math that we just want to first alert you to. So kind of keep that in mind. It doesn't have to be a huge snow to be a problem, but it still can maybe mean that we need to set that alarm 5 to 10 minutes earlier. As we go around lunchtime, we see that the bulk of the snow has actually pushed out. It's still, though, bringing those scattered showers through, and we'll continue to even see some showers and some banding. That's going to be possible for us as we get closer towards this evening. So we will be finding that lake effect kind of like picks up a little bit, and it still lingers a little bit into Thursday, but overall that Thursday forecast is a little bit quieter. I still left some snow showers in. You can even see some of that banding trying to be picked up. So it's just with this cold air and the Great Lakes being open, we're going to be able to make snow fairly easily. When we look at some of our snow totals from the system, so I'm just going to run it here through Wednesday night, we are going to be finding that we have kind of a general range of 1 to 3 inches. So 1 inch is kind of doable for many of us, but where we have some of those blue streaks coming in, that's when we start to get close to that 2, getting very close to that 3-inch mark. I've also been watching for some banding to set up. So if you get caught underneath some of those bands, you might be able to populate closer towards 3, 3.5 inches. But I've also seen that anywhere from north of I-69 to even 96, closer towards the Brighton area. So there's a lot of variation. You can definitely tell that the lake's going to try to have some enhancements as this low comes through. So that's going to kind of make some of those isolated locations where we do pick up some of those totals more spotty. So just kind of keep that in mind, that it could be a little bit variable. Again, when you look at this map, you very much know that this is tolerable, but it still doesn't mean that it isn't going to be slippery in the morning. So just kind of keep that in mind, that we still are going to be running into potentially some slower roadways out the door, but you still see that we have that 1 to 3 inch zone that is going to be possible for us. Our low temperatures tonight also maybe trying to get some rebound. We're still just going to see those into the double digits, around 10, maybe up to 12 degrees. So that's what we're going to be waking up to. So that snow is going to stick on contact as it does start to roll through. The other thing that I want to point out, though we have the snow, and that usually is kind of the headliner for a lot of folks and they kind of get caught in the details, I just want to put this on your personal radar. On Friday, we have yet another push of Arctic air that's going to be coming in. This is going to be very comparable to this morning when we had the cold conditions. So having wind chills around 10 to 15 degrees below zero is definitely going to be possible. The one thing that we're watching with Friday is that this air could be even colder than what we had this morning. So we could be looking at wind chills that are about 20 degrees below zero. That's really when we kind of start to have some of those frostbite concerns to where it doesn't take very long. I know I even saw some of the data coming in from National Weather Service that they were having some ranges potentially even further north in mid-Michigan to where we could have 25 degrees below. So that's really when those frostbite concerns become less than 15 minutes. So kind of when you're around that negative 20 mark is when you're still talking about a half hour. So just kind of keep that in mind for Friday. That is going to be so kind of coming in borderline for some school districts. Every school has kind of a different policy on wind chills and when they need to delay or potentially close because of cold air. So we just want to give folks that first alert that we are watching yet for another surge. We have the potential of that first alert weather day. We just kind of want to get the afternoon data, make sure that that isn't weakening us all. So we will probably more than likely upgrade it because so far this cold plunge has been holding on. But we still just want to get a little more data since we still have a few more days before that rolls in. We have a little time to kind of warm up just a little bit before we have that push of cold air that is going to be coming back into play for us. So just kind of keep an eye to the first alert weather updates here at the desk, but also you can tune in on air at 4 o'clock. Chris and Colette will be having your forecasts then. And also the first alert weather app, that is going to be super helpful to have. I'll bring up that QR code. I know you've probably already scanned it because I usually try to leave that up here on the screen, but here it is in its full size version. So then you have no reason to not have the app. It is free to download. You can get that on the Google Play Store, the Apple App Store. I know I checked it this morning to look at those feels like temperatures, because I wanted to know how chilly it was as I was getting around for the day. So that's a great way that you can also use it so that you're prepared before you head outside and that you always have enough layers on here to get through all of this cold air. I am going to get ready here, pull up that 7-day forecast for you. We are going to find within the next week that we do have our temperatures that rebound. We get around 28 degrees tomorrow, 20 degrees on Thursday, but it's really Thursday night that the cold air starts to rush in. So we will find that lows actually drop pretty quickly and they do fall into the negatives. We'll still be seeing them into the negatives Friday night and Saturday night. So we have some pretty chilly mornings here this weekend. If you have some events, if they are outside, we are going to be looking at bitter cold conditions also for the weekend. So even though we have the first alert weather day possibility for Friday morning, and that doesn't mean that Saturday and Sunday morning are also not a concern. We're really monitoring also impacts for how many people are outside. Friday morning, we have more students that are out waiting to go to school, to where Saturday and Sunday, we may not have as many people who are outdoors during that time frame. So it's just kind of keeping the thought of impacts and then the science together. Really, some of that all comes together when we're talking first alert weather days. But still, this weekend's going to be cold. And the one thing that I do want to point out, and I'm pretty excited of seeing in the forecast, is high pressure towards the weekend. So what that means is that we have a chance of seeing some sun. That's what you want to take away from the forecast. Here in January, we don't always get as much winter sun as we would like to see, but we do have a chance here through the weekend. With it being so cold though, I did leave just a couple of flurries around the Great Lakes, of course. They do like to add a little bit of that winter flare at times. So overall, we're not going to be looking at big accumulations once we have that system roll through on Wednesday, but it's just going to kind of be that winter wonderland look with just a little bit of sun here for the weekend. But we tried around the corner a little bit on Monday. You can see that high around 15 degrees. But really Wednesday, that's kind of the next chance of snow. But then the next chance of seeing some really cold weather is going to set up Thursday night going into Friday. So a couple of pieces to still keep an eye to. I know there's been a lot in the first forecast to kind of stay on track. So that's also why the app is very helpful to have. Now, of course, we are going to be having another update coming up at 9 o'clock tonight. First Alert Chief Meteorologist Chris Cieslak is going to be keeping an eye to the forecast, so make sure you join him here at the desk. But thank you so much for hanging out with us here this afternoon, and stay warm and enjoy.
Thank you for joining us. Today's stream has been brought to you by Lockhart Roofing.